My question that I would like for you to write down your answer to: what is something that either you've manifested or you've helped a client manifest that you think would make doubters believe this really works?
Okay. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm going to just put down the one that springs to mind.
Good.
Right. It's always the same one that comes to me because it's the biggest thing that kind of happened that sort of set me on a different path. But we'll see. Maybe I'll change my mind. We'll see.
Nice. Nice. I'm excited to come back to that then. So when I discovered you on YouTube, and as I was watching a lot of your videos, I was like, I would love to talk to Evie, because I've kind of come to believe that we sort of need to become a little bit like delusional if we want to create the life that we truly desire. What are your thoughts on that? Do you believe that that's true?
I can be delusional quite easily because I have a bit of a crazy imagination. And the way I look at it, nobody knows what's going on in your head but you know, because I get that a lot from clients. But am I not just being delusional? But nobody knows that, you know, it's only you telling yourself you are. And I just do believe that anything is possible. I think if you think it's possible, if you believe it's possible, it's possible. And I've kind of run with that, I guess. I mean, about 20 years ago, I don't think I would have done. I think I would have talked myself out of it because I wouldn't have had that confidence. But as you get older, you're more inclined to sort of throw yourself into things thinking, well, I've got so long now. So am I going to do it? You know, I've got to get on with it.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
So what do you think then? Because I think this is very common in like the entrepreneur space, like people who know that they want to create something or bring something to life that hasn't ever actually been real for them, but they believe it could be. Like I think that the term realistic is a little bit of a dangerous one. Like when people tell you to be realistic, what I hear
Yeah.
in that is, well, if I only ever act and think in a way that's realistic, then I'm only ever going to get the same results I've always gotten. So I think I need to be a little bit unrealistic. But then where do you think the line is between like manifestation and just delusion?
Yeah, you see, I don't think there is a line for me. I think I've got come so far that I really truly believe that. But when I'm talking to a client, I'm not inclined to be so full on as that because when people first come into this, um, they're just looking at it from a different reference point, you know, than I am doing. So I don't think I think this is what I think. If you've thought of something that you want to do, you really believe it's possible anyway, because it wouldn't have even entered your head. If you really thought something was truly impossible, you know, you're thinking about it because you believe it's possible, you know it's possible. And then your rational mind starts telling you why you're deluded and why it's probably not going to happen for you. And it's just I kind of see I've got the rational mind and I've got my subconscious mind. And my rational mind is designed to protect me, look after me. So it doesn't want me to put myself out there in case I fail. Then I've got to deal with the failure. So it's protecting me because I do get people talking to me saying, well, my mind is always trying to sabotage me. And it's not really, it just feels like that. But actually, it's not. It is just trying to keep you safe and it just doesn't really know how to do that in a productive way. So it's that not engaging with that part of you that will tell you you're delusional, will tell you can't do it. I don't think I've ever had anything that told me I think I've always thought I could do it, but I've maybe always perhaps thought back in the day that other people would think I couldn't do it. Like, you know, so I think I've kind of had this knowing that actually I can do that. And then thinking, oh, really? Am I going to really? And the coaching thing was completely, was not planned because I always said I would never do YouTube. I would never put myself out there. And look, mind you, every time I say I'm never going to do something, I always do it. I don't mean to. I don't know what happens. I obviously manifest it. It ends up being my life. So, you know, that was not a planned thing. I just wanted to write. And at the time, I still got the business with my husband, and there was a few of us working in this business. And I was, and I still am to an extent, an SEO specialist. So I was doing that, and I was thinking, but I always wanted to write. I was obsessed with writing when I was younger, and it was always niggling me, but I just didn't know where to start. So that was my initial thing. That was what I was looking at doing. Never being on YouTube, being a content creator, putting myself out there. And the only thing I do is YouTube. I don't do Instagram, TikTok, anything else.
Right.
Took me a while to get comfortable on YouTube. So, I don't want to push it too far.
Interesting. Oh, that's so funny. I literally just interviewed an SEO specialist last
Did you
week.
really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
that's interesting.
I realized how very little I actually understand about SEO, but no, what you said there is really interesting. That if there's something in your mind that you keep thinking about, then there is part of you that believes it's realistic. Otherwise, you wouldn't keep thinking about it. But people probably get very good at shoving that down because they tell themselves like, oh, it'd be too hard. There's all these barriers, all the reasons why it won't work. But if it keeps coming back to you, then there's a part of you that believes it could work.
Yeah, I truly believe that. It's going to niggle you and niggle you until you do something about it. And if you never do anything about it, it will never stop niggling you. I don't think you ever sort of truly let it go because you really want it. So it's the fear of failure, but it's also the fear of success. I find with people that I speak to, if I'm talking to somebody because they want to start a business or something, it's also the fear of success. But where does that take me? Where do I go with that? And what if I start earning all this money? What am I going to do with that? And will I lose it again? So I get a lot of that. So I think it's both. I've never had that. I've never really had that. I've always like, no, I can go with the success. I think holding me back is academically, I have no qualifications. We do something called GCSE over here. And I got one notable one in English, but everything else, and it was my own fault. I have a real problem focusing and I just didn't bother at school. I just saw it as one big social thing and I didn't. So I think I had that. Well, who do you think you are? You've got one GCSE for goodness sake. But I mean, that now doesn't mean anything to me at all. Qualifications don't, I don't think. I think
Yeah.
because if you don't have qualifications, it does not mean you can't do what you want to do.
But I think that too also kind of that's what I thought when you said you never saw yourself doing YouTube, you just wanted to write. I found that people who want to write and people who want to put their ideas out there and share their experiences to help people, you don't necessarily need to see yourself as like a content creator, but you obviously are pulled to sharing and helping other people with it. So I can see how that transition happened for you.
Yeah, and the funny thing was I was thinking about it and I thought, why am I thinking about doing this? Like, what on earth? I've always said I'd never do this. And my son is a content creator and he's done it since he was at school and he's still doing it now. He does gaming and that sort of thing. And he doesn't care what anyone says to him. And I thought, oh God, you don't know what people are going to comment. And I just don't know if I want to put myself out there. And he said, when someone tells you to go step on Lego, you've made it. I said, oh, okay. And then I just saw it as a big joke then. And I thought, I'm taking this too seriously, and it was just the right thing to say to me at the time. And I thought, oh, do you know what? I'm just going to do it. And it was only to share, it was never to coach. It was just to go on and talk about what I'm interested in. Because I didn't know anybody else that was interested in manifestation and just sort of see where it went. I kind of thought, I probably won't do it for very long, but I'll give it a go. And if it's too cringe, I'll just take the videos down. I am in control after all. So, yeah, that was how that came about. And that was like about 6 years ago now. So you never know, do you?
That's interesting because I would actually bet like maybe there's less people who are actively searching for terms like manifestation, but I would bet that every single person alive today would like the idea of their, unrealistic goals coming true. Like I think most people, if they understood this concept of like, hey, you actually are more in control of your reality than you think you are. And if you learn how to
Yeah.
create the life you want to create, you can create it. I think everybody would be interested in that.
Yeah, but a lot of people would, that look at that concept and think, "What the hell? You literally are just deluded, and it's wishful thinking." But it kind of is wishful thinking in a way. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that either.
Mhm.
Wishing for something, wanting something, and just thinking there's some invisible force out there. It's not really out there, is it? I don't. Do you know what? I don't know. I never claim to know what it is. I don't call it anything in particular. I don't know what it is. I just know that I've made decisions about where I want to go in life. And then something has happened to give me that opportunity. And I've ended up doing it. And would I have if I didn't do that? I don't think so. But, like I said, I'm no expert on the way the universe works, but I just think there's something that we don't understand. And I'm going to try and work with that in the best way that I can.
Yeah. Well, you said something there that I want to come back to about this idea of people fearing failure, but people also sort of fearing success, which I think is
Yeah.
so much more prevalent than we realize. But I want to go back because I think I saw in my research that you've spent somewhere around like 11 years now building a
Yeah.
career around this. So
Yeah.
how did that actually start for you?
Guess it started. It's funny in that you go back over it. Now, did I write something before? I was still sort of actively working in the business in an office. There were quite a few of us, and that was sort of niggling me, the writing thing. Then I started writing some articles, just for some online platforms, and started doing it that way. So I started. I thought I could write, but I didn't know whether I was deluded. Whether I just think like you watch people auditioning on the TV, and you think how how do they think they can sing? Because they are, bless them, they're completely tone deaf, And I thought, maybe that's me, I think I can do it, but maybe I can't. So I started doing that. And I suppose then I thought, oh, actually, I can do it. So it kind of kicked off from that point, really. And then I was writing about various different things. I was writing about business, I was writing about manifestation, because I thought, well, I'm just writing about it. I'm not putting myself out there as such. And it just sort of went from there, really. And that sort of me off realizing that I can write, and that is what I want to do. And I went hell for leather down that road to start. And then the YouTube thing kind of took me off course for a bit, I suppose, because I thought, oh, now I don't know, what am I doing? Am I a coach? Am I a writer? So that's when I started writing about this. As a thing, so that, because then I thought, well, that makes complete sense. But it kind of just went from there, really. It's been a bit of a crazy thing. I still do some SEO because I still have a couple of clients that I had way back, and I don't want to ditch them. So, because they just would not know where to go. So I still sort of work for them, and I still do a bit of work because my husband has a company, and then his clients will then use me. But I don't deal with the clients. So I'm happy to do that. And I quite like to do that one day a week. That will be my SEO day. And I like that kind of realness, if you know what I mean. It's a good balance to manifestation, law of assumption, law of attraction. That I love all of that. But I also love that I know if I implement this, this, and this, I will get this result. Whereas when you're coaching, you don't know who you're talking to. You don't really know what's going on within them. And the best advice you can give them, you think that will help them, but you'll never 100% sure. And when you find out it does, it's generally a few months later. So, you know, whereas the SEO is a bit more instant. So I do enjoy that sort of combination of both of those two things, really.
So it sounds like what kind of sparked, and correct me if I'm wrong, what kind of sparked the interest in manifestation for you was this realization that you are a writer and you can be a writer. You just have to start seeing yourself that way. Is that what kind of got you to like lean into this a bit
I
more?
guess so. Yeah, I guess so. And I was knowing that I had to push myself a little bit, because my natural state is one of not pushing myself, is one of just kind of sitting back and thinking, but that is just, and I think that goes back to that shyness when I was younger, not wanting to put myself out there. So it was an effort to do that, but I thought I'm going to have to do it. Otherwise, if I don't, then I've only, what is that saying? The biggest regret is one of not trying, isn't it? It's not failing. So, and I kept reminding myself of that. I thought, no, just do it. What is the worst that can happen? And that is, I do say that a lot to myself, like literally, what is the worst that can happen? And generally it isn't that bad. So I have failed at some things. I've there have been things in the past, not failed, but things haven't worked out exactly as I had planned. But I kind of look at a bit of the bigger picture now, and I think if there's something, I don't think there's anything out there that's saying, well, actually, this isn't good for you, so that's not going to work, but we're going to give you this instead. I don't believe that. I believe if you think that deep down, then that's what's going to happen. So I don't believe there's any sort of judge and jury that they're sort of deciding what's best for me. Because when people say that to me, I say, well, think about all the crap stuff that's happened. Are you saying that something said, oh, that's good for you? That'll be a good learning curve for you. I really don't think that. So I kind of lost track of where we went with that. What the initial question was on that one now.
No, that's okay. That's a sign of a good conversation when you just kind of go off a little bit. But yeah, you touched on something there that made me think of something I've seen a lot of evidence of in my own life, that like when you're looking at like what you want your life to be, like what kind of work you want to do, what kind of like job you want to have, where you want to live, I think everybody kind of has like an ideal in their mind, like, oh, I would love to do, XYZ, but I can't for whatever reasons, or it's more
Yeah,
realistic for me to stick with this thing over here. And again, like the term realistic kind of kept coming up to me the more I learn about manifestation and stuff, and especially watching your content, because I feel like I grew up with a lot of people in my life who very much thought that way of like, be realistic, like, have a
yeah,
backup plan. And for a long time, I saw that as like practical advice, like, oh, these people want the best for me,
yeah,
like don't go for that really big thing, like, have a backup plan in case it doesn't work. And I actually think now that that's like just an unfortunate way to be, because if you're looking at your life and you're like, well, this is how I would prefer it to be, but this is what I think is more likely to happen for me, you're probably assuming that based on what you feel has already been evidence in your life. But
exactly.
you choose which one you want to put your energy and attention into. So if you think that, like, I can see this one happening, why can you not see this one happening that you really want to happen?
Exactly. And the thing is, I think if you choose a plan B, you end up doing plan B. Because again, you feel that's more likely. So you end up sort of having opportunities show to you that lead you to that. So you end up doing the backup, you know, because so I tend not to give myself a plan B these days. Like, no, this is it. This is what you want. Go for it. It works out. It doesn't work out. You know what you know. You can guide reality. Give it your best shot. Um, and yeah, and I do think that is an age thing as well for me. As I've gotten older, I'm more inclined to do that. I think I sort of trust myself a bit more now. So I've been doing this for a long time, so I kind of know that if I carry on doing what I've been doing, I should be okay. That's not to
Yeah.
say something might show up in my life and it might be a complete curveball, and wow, I didn't see that coming. But it might be a good one, good
Yeah.
curveball, and I'll go with that.
But that kind of makes me think of what you said before, that yes, people have a fear of failure. That's a really big thing. But I think the more under talked about thing is this fear of success, because I've found in my own journey of, like coaching and being an online business, I've found a lot of people don't really trust themselves almost. And I think it
Um,
is like a bit of a safety mechanism. Like I found a lot of people are really good at saying what they want. And they're like, yeah, I want to build my own business. I want to work for myself. I want, more freedom over my time. But then when it comes to actually doing it and implementing, or, investing in the coaching program or putting time into it, all of a sudden all the stories come up, all the kind of excuses come up about like
yeah,
why it might not work. And I
yeah,
think there is a fear of failure there, of like, I'm afraid that this won't work out for me, so I don't see the point in trying. But I think there's also another side of it of, I'm afraid that this might actually work, and I won't know what to do with it. I won't be able to hold it. Maybe I don't deserve
that's it.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that I won't be able to hold on to it is a really big thing that I have noticed with people. What if I get it and then I lose it? And yeah, but even if that's the case, you've still had it, and that's so unlikely. If you've got something, you're on that path, aren't you? And I think the thing is, especially with manifestation, people try to control every element of everything. So say they manifest that opportunity and then they try and control how exactly it's going to pan out, whatever that is they're manifesting. So they don't just go with the flow then. And I found that this is about flow. You've just got to take that opportunity and think, cool, that's amazing. I've just done that. Awesome. And go with it and don't try to control every part of it. Just let it unfold as it was meant to unfold, you know. You just don't, as soon as you get something in a stranglehold, that's what you're doing. You've got it in a stranglehold. It can't breathe. And I do see this a lot with people. They do get these opportunities, and then they say it was a partial manifestation. If we're talking about manifesting, and I go, well, it wasn't. You had the opportunity, and then your fears and your doubts and all the rest of it kind of crept in there and latched on, and you told yourself why this might not work out, and and so then it didn't. But it doesn't mean you can't have another go. That's the thing. There's no end game. Just have another go.
Yeah, yeah, but I think
Yeah.
people use that as, like, proof that it's not
Yeah.
gonna work because 'cause they're like, "Oh, well, it didn't work right away." So, it's proof that it's not going to work, right? And I think that's
Yeah.
like we said before, it's almost like people look for proof that it can't happen because then it's safer to just say, like, "Oh, well,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna stay here because that didn't work for me."
Yeah, that's a load of nonsense. That doesn't work. Gave it a go, but it's how you give it a go. I used to be very fearful of kind of wanting to. I don't even like the word manifesting, to be honest. I use it because I have to get people to watch my videos and that sort of thing, but I don't think in those terms. I'm just thinking, whatever this is, I'm kicking something in that I don't understand. I think the term manifestation makes people think that they've got to perform some sort of magic trick. It kind of sounds a bit like that. Um, Sort of, I would have the fear of, well, what if I do it and I manifest it? So we'll use the word manifesting for now, and it doesn't happen, and then I've got to accept that manifestation isn't real. It was more that for me. What if then I got to think it isn't real, and I don't want to think it isn't real? So, I won't bother doing it. I won't do that if it was a big thing, for example, and then I won't have to contend with that. I mean, that seems ludicrous to me now, but again, it's something I see over and over, and I get that. I really get that. It's
Mhm.
again, it's your mind protecting you, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So if
Mm.
you like if somebody was watching this and let's say they're very new to the concepts of manifestation, law of assumption, law of attraction, how would you kind of explain that to people that are open to these concepts, but they don't really know what they are or how they work?
So, if somebody was looking at having a go at it, or
Mhm. Yeah, like if there's somebody who, wants to create change in their life, they wanna create whether it's a job, a person, an unrealistic goal, and they're not familiar with what the law of attraction, the law of assumption are. How would you explain that to people that are very new to these concepts?
well, first of all, I would say it's about the light touch. I think that would be the first thing I would say, because heavy hand, pushing hard, trying hard, just does not seem to work with this. I have to say, seem to work because, again, I'm just working with what I know and what I believe to be true. And maybe if I believe the opposite, that would be true. I don't know. And then I would say, what is the goal? What is your ultimate goal? What is it that you actually want? Can you get clarity on that? Because a lot of the time people don't know exactly what they want, or they think they want something. And then when they say it, they go, but then there's this compromise and there's that compromise. So they don't really have that clarity of intent. So I would say, clarity of intent is really important because that just gives you something you have a focus then. And then it's not worrying about the middle part. So it's not there's nothing you need to do. This is the thing. There's nothing you need to do. You don't need to affirm. You don't need to visualize. You don't need to script. You just need to know what you want and feel that it is possible, but not that it's probable, not that it's already done, not that it will happen, just that it is a possibility. And again, if you didn't think it was, you wouldn't even be considering it. So even if somebody says to me, well, I don't think it is possible, well, you do, because you wouldn't have told me that you were thinking of manifesting it. So you kind of know it is possible. And then it's about just getting on with your life. I think it's very easy to get completely so into this that you're watching so much content, you're online all the time, you're reading, you're watching videos, but you're not actually doing. You're so busy watching and then thinking, oh, is this the magic pill? Is that the magic pill? What is it that I need to do that I haven't done yet? And then it just takes over your life. And then it just becomes not very nice. It starts to feel a bit toxic, I think. I think some people would describe it as toxic that have sort of been into it and come out of it and go, oh no, it's just a toxic environment. The law of assumption is in a toxic community. I've seen that quite a lot. But it's just their reference point, isn't it? Because they haven't found their way. So it's kind of easier. But again, bringing it back to it's about the light touch, it's about flow. If you feel like, I use this analogy a lot, and I apologize if you've heard it before. If you're in a small boat and you are out of the boat and you're pushing it upstream, that's what it feels like a lot of the time. Then that's not what you want. You want to be feeling like I'm sat in this little boat and I am just drifting downstream. That's what it should feel like. So that's
Okay.
the difference.
So do you think that like because I've honestly never heard that before that people, find like a toxic trait in the law of assumption, but that's really
Mhm.
interesting. Do you find that that's because people feel like they're trying to force this outcome and it's not happening and so it starts to feel negative?
I think so. And I think there is a lot of content out there. And I'm not saying that this is wrong. I'm just saying I think people coach this and talk about it from their own perspective and what's worked for them. So they're going to, big up whatever's worked for them. And there's a lot about affirmations online. Push, push, push through. If you've stopped at 6 months and you haven't got what you wanted because you haven't done it enough, you haven't affirmed enough, and that's just like nonsense, because if you're not feeling it, if you're affirming for something but feeling the opposite, you're always going to get that feeling of the opposite. You're not going to get the words that you say. And I think maybe there are a lot of channels around that focus on that, and people get into that and they think, brilliant, I can affirm for 2, 3 months, and this will definitely happen because law of assumption states that if I keep saying something, I repeat something, it is going to happen, and then it doesn't happen. And then they feel that this is toxic because you're getting people to waste months of their life. That's the impression I get from the stuff like that I've read and seen. And I understand that, but it's ultimately it's about you. If something doesn't feel good, I just say don't do it. If you stick to that, you can't go far wrong really. Or like, okay, I'm affirming and I've been doing that for 6 weeks and it feels crap. Don't go on for a seventh week and stop. Cease and
Interesting.
desist. Yeah.
Interesting. It kind of made me think of like the dynamic of being in like a toxic relationship where you're like trying to force this thing to work and you feel like it's
Yeah.
not working, but you stay in it
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
Interesting.
If you
Wow.
think at some point you're going to keep doing the same thing and it's something's going to give. But another thing that I say is it's just like putting an engine together. If you keep leaving a bit out or putting the wrong part in, it's never ever going to drive. And you keep taking it apart and doing the same thing, taking it apart, doing the same thing. You're going to get the same results. You have to do something different to get something different, but you want to just get on with your life as well.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about manifestation all the time. I'm not, I'm just not, unless I'm
Hmm.
talking to people or writing about it. I'm just doing my life
Yeah.
because that's detachment. It's just living life.
Right. Yeah. And I remember watching one of your videos where you talked a little bit about this, like that in your own journey, you've kind of just practiced this for so long now that when you're looking at, something that you want to happen or something you're trying to manifest, you can either focus on the things that you want to happen and what feels good, or sometimes those kind of more negative thoughts will come into your head and you'll just remind yourself, like, yeah, I don't want to entertain that. I don't want to feel that way.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just kind
Yeah.
of let that pass like a cloud floating by. And it made me think of a personal example, like something that my husband and I are doing right now is we're building our house. And
Oh, are you?
we're
Oh, wow. That's a
yes.
project.
Yes, it is a project and we're building it in a way that we're not getting a mortgage. We're paying for the house
Oh,
out of pocket.
oh,
So
wow.
it's a very big project, very big investment. And we found out probably about a month ago that it's going to be about $60,000 more than we had anticipated. And so when I found that out, my initial feeling was like, oh shit, like that feels like a bit of a setback. And
Yeah.
and I remember later that day thinking to myself, okay, well, I can either go down that path. I can think about how this is a setback and how this sucks and, how, okay, well, maybe this isn't going to work out or we're going to have to push everything back. Or I could choose to focus on, okay, well, this is going to benefit me in some way and we're going to figure it out. And let's just keep taking actions forward as though this is still going on, as though we've already figured it out, almost as though
Okay.
like, okay, well, what if I already had that extra 60K? Like, what would I
Yeah.
be doing right now? How would I be moving forward? How would I be feeling? And so anytime I've kind of felt those doubtful thoughts coming back in of like, hey, you
Mm.
don't have this, it is going to be a setback, whatever. I thought of this when I watched your video because I was like, well, I see those thoughts there. I acknowledge them. I'm consciously choosing to not spend time on them and dwell on them.
Yeah.
I'm instead going to try to shift my energy over here of, okay, this is benefiting me in some way even if I don't see it right now. We're still moving forward. This is going to happen. And there are definitely moments where I've thought like somebody who really doesn't understand the way my brain works could get in there
Yeah.
and think, well, you're being delusional, but you don't
Yeah.
actually have that extra 60 grand. But I'm just choosing which outcome I want to put my energy into.
And that's it, isn't it? Choosing the outcome. And you may not think you're choosing if you dwell in those thoughts. but actually you are. If you think that whatever this is reading your feeling state, and you're going, oh, that's just, I don't know where that's going to come from. And it just drops, it just doesn't feel good, does it? That's the way I look at it. It doesn't make me feel good. So I would rather have nicer thoughts. And even if I don't have nicer thoughts, even if I can't reframe it, I can stop doing that. So that, that's the main thing, just stopping dwelling in all of that stuff that you don't want. Even if you don't reframe it, I generally am quite good at reframing things. There's always a way to reframe something, isn't there? Like
Mhm.
there's always, even if it's really just slightly, that even a slight shift, you will notice them if you've changed the story slightly, that you just feel a little bit different. And that's brilliant. And then you can go up from that point if you need to, but that might just be enough.
Yeah, yeah, it's exactly that though that I've had moments in my journey where I thought like, am I just being delusionally optimistic? Like, am I just choosing to like run away from the thoughts that don't feel good? But and I think sometimes I would like kind of judge myself for it, but I've ultimately just kind of decided like, I mean, I would rather just choose to live a life where life feels good and it's fun and I just believe that things are working out for me because what is the alternative? Why would I want to live any other way? Like you said that you were doing SEO stuff. You slowly started pivoting into, being a writer, stepping into that identity of a writer. When was there a point that you can remember when you realized that this could actually work and help other people and you wanted to kind of start building a business out of it?
Yeah, I mean, I was on YouTube probably, I reckon, a good couple of years maybe before I started coaching. And people kept asking me, and I just thought, well, what qualifies me to coach people? And then, but I was writing about it at that point. So then I thought, so there was a very, what's the word? Not forceful, relentless client back in the day that really wanted a coaching session. And I thought, oh, okay, well, I'll just see her. She really wants some help. I really can help with this. But then I probably won't do any more after that. And that just kicked it off really. As soon as I'd done one, I thought, oh, this is quite fun, and I'm getting to meet people from all over the world, which is when do you ever get the chance to do that? So it was kind of that, I guess.
Okay. So this person reached out from your YouTube videos and said, I want you to
Yeah.
coach me.
Yeah, basically, she was following me on YouTube and then just reached out to me and said by my website, I believe. And I said, well, it's not what I do because again, I just thought I hadn't seen myself doing that at all. So it's not something I'd ever kind of pictured for myself. And again, I suppose it was a bit of a fear thing, thinking, God, I don't know how that will go. I don't know if it will flow or how I will be. Although I can talk, so I should have known that I would have been fine. But um, and then eventually I did agree to see her. And then I just thought, and she was from the States. So it was nice talking to somebody from somewhere else. And then somebody else asked and somebody else asked. And I just thought, do you know what? Why not? Let's just do it for a while and see what happens. Is something completely out of my comfort zone, really. But we'll just give it a go. And it kind of went from there. So now I've got a sort of mix of things going on, and it's nice. I have cut back on my coaching. I don't do quite as much as I used to because it was taking over slightly, and I just wasn't having enough time to do anything else. But it is nice having conversations with people that I would just never meet otherwise. So it's interesting.
Oh, that's really cool. So this person reaches out from your YouTube is like, "Hey, I really want to do coaching with you." How do you remember that moment of kind of deciding like, "Okay, how do I approach this? Like what do I charge? How do I set this up?" Like what was that like for
Yeah,
you?
that's really difficult. The charging thing was very difficult for me. It shouldn't have been, but I made it a huge thing because I thought, well, this is not an exact science. I'm not going to give this person a list of things to do and suddenly everything is going to change for them. It might do, but it might not. Oh, what can I charge for that? So, what I decided to do is I looked at my consultation charge on a business basis, so an SEO basis. If I was giving somebody an hour of my time, what do I charge? And I thought I'd just charge the same. That's the only thing I could base it on really, because I really had no idea. But I felt even uncomfortable doing that, to be honest. I felt uncomfortable taking money for coaching for quite a long time until I had a real word with myself. Because I thought, well, what qualifies me? Who am I? Who am I to be It wasn't really that I had imposter syndrome. It just seemed a little bit mean to take money from people to sort of talk to them. It seems ridiculous now that I thought that, but that is kind of how it felt. So I did have that uncomfortable thing going on for a while, but I've eradicated that now because I thought it is a service, no matter what that service is. Yes, it's a bit strange that you're charging for that sort of thing, but it's a massive industry now anyway. It's huge. So and I'm the lower end of the scale when it comes to charging. There are some big charges out there, so I don't worry about that now. But it was an issue. I do think it was probably a good couple of years before I felt really comfortable with it. I still did it, I put the charge in, I took the payment. I didn't stop me from doing it, but I never felt completely comfortable about it. Which is why I think my prices are realistic now still. I've never gone, oh, right, now I'm bigger and I'm getting all of these inquiries, I'm going to put it up to, because not that I'm saying anybody shouldn't do that. Everybody's got to charge what feels right for them, haven't they? But for me, that just wouldn't feel right. So I've just kind of left it pretty much the
Mhm.
same for a long time now.
So it sounds
So
like what you were kind of telling yourself a lot of was like, I don't know if I have the credentials to do this, or
yeah.
like, do you feel like there was a little bit of like a doubt of whether you like deserved to coach people, or what do you think that story
Yeah,
was that you were kind of
probably.
telling yourself?
Yeah, probably it was a little bit like that. Like, oh God, who do you think you are? Getting on Zoom and talking to somebody in Canada or in the States and giving them advice on how they should progress forward, because I knew what had worked for me, but I didn't necessarily feel qualified to then sort of, and I'm not qualified as such, but then, even if I did get a certification actually a few years ago, but then I just never use it. I just think, oh, who cares? What really certifies you to, it doesn't really mean anything. So I don't even mention it anymore. I used to say I'm a certified law of attraction manifestation coach, but I think I've mentioned that for 3 or 4 years now because I just think, well, it just doesn't mean anything really, does it? Because I mean, this is kind of woo woo, really. It's seen as that, isn't it? And to say I'm qualified in it, what? So I did drop that. I guess it was just that feeling of, well, who do you think you are? You know, um, but then I started thinking, well, clients are coming back and they seem to enjoy the sessions. So what's the difference? So if I'm talking to a client about SEO, oh yeah, I'm fine with that, and I'm not qualified in that. I'm only self-taught. So really speaking, that is something maybe people would expect me to be qualified in, but I've self-taught since back in the dial-up days, because that's a long time we've been doing this. So, but felt perfectly fine talking about that, having zero qualification. So I had to sort of have a bit of a word with myself. And actually, now I know things are so different now. This is a bit more mainstream. I mean, it
Mhm.
isn't, but mainstream, but it's definitely a little bit more mainstream than it was when I first started. And a lot of the stuff I do is mindset anyway. So
Mhm.
if you get into the right mindset, then the manifestation stuff is then all down to you because you're in the right mindset and you don't need me. I don't think anybody needs us, particularly like a law of assumption coach or such, because you kind of know what you need to do. It's just I think it is the mindset, shifting that mindset, helping people get to a place where they can look at things differently and just feel differently about moving forward from that point, really. So that's probably more of what I do. And I like doing that because I
Mhm.
know it's only a mindset shift. I know that's all it is. And I know if I'm talking to somebody, I say, oh, if you could just think like this, if you could reframe this and reframe that, get yourself into a bit of a better spot, you'll be fine. So I kind of know that. And that is, I guess, really what my coaching is about more than, okay, you want to manifest this. I'm going to teach you some techniques to do that. I don't really do that. I
Mhm.
mean, I can if people want me to, but it isn't about a technique. It's never about a technique. It is about how it's not about what you do, what you don't do. It's about how you feel about what you do, what you don't do. It's that
Interesting.
really.
Yeah, because oh man, there's so many things that I want to say to this, but I would imagine that people who are curious about these things like manifestation, law of attraction, law of assumption, creating the life that we want, I would imagine people who are in that position probably look for tactics. Like they probably look for
Yeah.
like, give me the steps. Like what do I need to do? What do I need to
Exactly. Yeah.
not do? Yeah.
And there are no steps really. There's no process. there are things that you might do that might make you feel good and help you. And if you like saying an affirmation, then say an affirmation, it's not a problem. It's just it isn't what an affirmation is not what manifests, it's that feeling. I don't mean an emotion. I don't mean like, any kind of emotional state. It's just that sort of slight subtle feeling that you have within on any given subject. So I was trying to explain this to Jeremy, my husband, and I'm saying, you have like a feeling state associated with those perpetual thoughts that you have. And he said, no, I don't. I said, well, you do. He said, no, I don't have feelings associated with my thoughts. No, they're just thoughts. I went, well, they're not. But I was trying to explain the difference. I said, it's not emotion. I'm not talking about emotion. I'm talking about something very subtle that if you sat there and noticed how you felt over any particular situation, there would be a feeling there. But it's not overwhelming. It's just a subtle feeling. And
Mm,
it's about that. So there is no process. The thing is, if you tell the people there is a process and they go through that process and then they don't get what they want, then they're just going to think it's all nonsense. But if you say you can do whatever you want, if you feel good about that, then but it's really about clarity of intent. Really, what do you want? Do you feel it's possible? Yeah, you do. And it's that and nothing more than that, really. I mean,
mhm,
some people like to have, so I would work with some clients that really like to have something to do. They are doers and they cannot get the concept of not doing anything because they feel like they should be doing something. They want to do something. So then that's different, isn't it? That's fine. But it isn't necessary, but it might be necessary for you if that is the way that you think,
mhm,
where your mind is at. You need to do something because it feels better to do something, but you can still be in a state of flow if you're doing something. Doesn't mean you're pushing against the tide just because you're doing something. But if you feel like you are, if it feels like a chore, I used to say back many years ago, if you're getting up to do a job that you really don't like and off you go to that job, if it feels like that when you're manifesting, then no, that's not what the feeling that you're looking for. Really,
mhm.
you're just looking to be doing life, knowing what you want and kind of just feeling that that's possible and knowing that you've made the choice. No, that's what I want. And I'm just going to, an opportunity is going to come up at some point for that to happen. And for me, it's that, and it's leave it at that. Don't do anything else, because I used to be a chronic overthinker. And if I was to start doing too much, then my mind would start getting back into that. And I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
No, that's not a great place to be.
That's interesting, like what you were saying about your own kind of doubts of stepping into the coach role, because I used to think very much the same way. I used to think that, well, if I'm going to hire a coach, they should be like certified, or they should like have achieved a certain kind of result or something like that. But I
Yeah,
think that train of thinking just comes from the way that school teaches us. Like we're all kind of taught,
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
go to school, get the degree so that you can say that you're equipped to do this thing. But I think we all have probably kind of realized that it doesn't quite work that way. And you can be educated in something and not be doing it at all. And I think I had a mentor kind of mention this to me a couple years ago, and it always stuck with me. He said, you don't need to have all the credentials in order to help somebody. You just need to be a few steps ahead of them and feel like you have some kind of value that they can benefit
Yeah,
from.
that's it. It's the value to know that you're giving some sort of value, and then you feel good about it. And if you don't feel like you're giving any value, you don't feel good. And I was unsure at the start what people would find valuable, but now I just think it's my experience. So it's my experience. I've tried this, I've tried that. No, trying hard doesn't work. Not in any case that I've ever experienced. And, different people I've spoken to, trying too hard, you feel you're pushing. I mean, it's online, isn't it? Like they call it the backwards law. So they would say, a physicist would say, the more you want something, the more it pulls away. But I don't think it's the want. You see, because I don't think it is the want. It's the pushing at it and prodding at it. And how can I get this? How can I get this? But not the actual want for something, because you need to want something to start with, don't you? If you want to change your career, for example, you want to do it to start with. It's not to be scared of wanting something, but then it's not becoming obsessive about it. It's like,
Mhm.
I know what I want. We're all different, aren't we? For me, I'm not. I know that if I do too much, which I did back in the day when I started with this, the first year, I didn't. I just made a complete mess of it and nothing was working out. I was seeing the opposite and just I felt stuck. But that was because I was thinking, okay, so I need to affirm, I need to do this, I need to do that. And I was chucking spaghetti at the wall basically, and nothing was happening. And then I just thought, oh, that's it. I'm done with this. No, law of attraction, which is what I called it then. I'm done with this. No, I'm done with anything more to do with it. Like I was kind of like protesting to the universe, who was going to feel bad for not giving me what I wanted. That's what it kind of felt like. Obviously, I wasn't doing that, but it sort of felt indignant, you know. And I came away, and I did. I stopped everything for about 3 weeks or so, but it kept niggling me. I think when you know it, don't you? I don't think you can, you know, something's going on. And I just thought, "Do you know what? I'm just trying too hard. I think this is, I think I must have watched something that made me realize that everything's energy and I'm just manipulating energy. And look what I've done over the last year. Look how I've manipulated it in the worst possible way." So it was that. So I came back to it with a whole fresh mindset of like, I was good before I was into this. My life, you know, it had its ups and downs, but it was pretty cool. So let's just go back to just live and see what happens.
Yeah. So just kind of know what you want, have a clear idea of what it is that you want to create, and then be willing to take your hands off the wheel a little bit and just say,
Yeah.
I'm going to believe that that can happen for me. And I'm going to just try to enjoy the ride along the way and not try to feel like I'm
Yeah.
strangling this to happen.
Yeah, because it is about enjoying the ride, isn't it? Often when we get somewhere, we're there and we're like, oh, right, okay. And we haven't appreciated all of those bits in between that have led us there, which are also magical. I used to do this thing where I'd picture myself in a car and there'll be like two of me, and there'll be inner me driving, and this me, the stupid me, would be in the passenger seat. And I would remind myself, just stay in the passenger seat. This,
Mm,
you know, it's still me, it's nothing else. I cannot get to grips with thinking that it's something outside of me. I have to know that it's me. But again, that's just me.
yeah.
And that works for me because I then realize that the buck stops with me. It's all down to me. I am in charge of my own. Can you say in charge of your own destiny? That's kind of what it feels like. But then again, you know, I don't believe that say I do believe that our feeling state creates, but I'm not going to look at every instant in my life and go, how did I create that? Oh my God, you know, what was I thinking to create that? Because I believe that things happen based on our vibe, based on our vibration and our frequency. So there's all kinds of different things on those frequencies, and you can't monitor everything that comes in and out of your life. You just have to, because our vibe is up, it's down, it's, you know, like this, it's neutral, it varies all of the time with different things happening in life. So things happen, shit happens, and you don't have to go, oh my God, how did I do that? And try and work out how you did it, because you won't. It's just something that happens. You've got to kind of lighten up on that, and otherwise you feel like you're just blaming yourself all of the time.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Definitely. Let's come back to that opening question I asked you. What is something you've manifested or you've helped a client manifest that you think would make doubters believe this really works? What did you write down?
whether or not this would make doubters believe, but I doubted it hugely at the time. So there was me, my husband in the office, and three other members of staff. I'd been having a conversation with our longest member of staff who'd been there for 12 years. And I'd been saying, do you ever fancy going out by yourself? And he said, no, I do not want to work for myself under any circumstances. I love it here. And we just had this, you know, general conversation, didn't think too much of it. And then I was sat at my desk and we had the pensions coming in to the UK. So basically, employers had to contribute to staff pensions, but it wasn't just that. It was all the messing around with it, and it was all new, and nobody knew what they were doing. And I was lumbered with that, and I was thinking, oh God. And I just thought, and I knew Jeremy was jaded, and I knew that he really didn't know where to go with the business and whether he wanted to keep doing it. But we were doing well. There was we would never have made any staff redundant. And I'm sat there thinking, I don't want this anymore. And then I thought, hang on a minute, be careful what you wish for, because I don't want anything happening that's not going to work out for anyone else. And I just sat there and thought, I'm going to manifest. I'm going to have a go at manifesting this. But I thought, there's no way this can happen. I thought, I just want all the staff to go. I don't want any staff anymore. So that's three members of staff. But I don't want to do anything to make this happen. I'm not going to let anyone go. That's not going to happen. So and then I thought, I cannot see how that, I cannot possibly, there's no possible way that can happen. I even said that really, I just don't see it. And at the time, it was many years ago, and I thought, I'm just putting it out there, just put it out there. Let's just see what happens. And about a week or so later, the guy that was my apprentice that had just moved on to work for us, he was qualified at that point. his parents were moving to the Isle of Wight, and he had said week or two before he didn't want to go. He was going to stay and find somewhere to rent locally. And he said, "Oh, do you know what? I've been thinking about it, and I reckon I might go because like a lot of my friends have sort of." Dispersed, and the friends group is not what it was. And would I still be able to do some freelance work for you? And I said, yeah. And I still didn't think anything of it. And I said, well, yeah, yeah, I guess that could work. And I couldn't really see a reason that it wouldn't. Did not see that this was happening. It was just probably a few days later when the other two just said exactly the same. And so that was in the December. So I thought it maybe at the beginning of December. The end of December, everyone had decided they were going. It was so weird. And in the January, everyone was gone. I was sat in this office by myself. Jeremy decided to work from home. I mean, this huge office that we had we had about 5 months left on the contract. And I thought, that's absolutely crazy. And I look back at that now, and I never have had the conversation with the guy that said, he didn't want to leave. He didn't want to work for himself, because that's exactly what he's ended up doing. And he's got his own business now. I didn't want to provoke anything because I was thinking, does he even remember that conversation? Because that was just then. And now it doesn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense whatsoever. So I'm there. And the next thing I did was I thought, okay, I don't want 5 months left on this lease. It's just me here. I don't want it. And I thought, right, that's the next thing. This is going to go. And then there was a publishing company upstairs. The guy came down and he said, oh, would you mind if I measured up? Because I reckon, this would be really great for us. Yeah, come in. And then, so within 5 weeks, I was out of there as well. So moved into my own little place there. Well, I moved into a shared area then. So I stayed where we were. But that to have 3 full-time members of staff 1 week, a couple of weeks later, they've all said they're going. And then a month later, it's actually, and I just was very careful not to step in and not try to control the process. I thought, if this works out, this is bloody awesome, because then I can really kick off the writing then. And it all sort of kicked off from that point, really. So that to me may not seem like a huge deal to everybody else, but it was a life change for me. So I had kept thinking, I want to work by myself. I don't want to be in this environment. I want initially I thought I wanted my own office, but then there was a shared area there and I really liked all of the people up there. Then I thought, I quite like to work up there. So I ended up there. All of it, complete life change. And the guys that have moved on, they're all really successful in what they're doing. And it was the best move for everybody. So I should have said this. When I was manifesting it, I said in the most harmonious way possible. That's what I stuck on the end of it, because I thought that means that everybody's happy. If it's harmonious, then all is good. And that was, a month after me doing it, everyone has decided to go.
Wow.
That was, yeah. And that kicked off everything from that point. So I guess it was all part of this bigger picture of me changing my career, really. That kicked it off. Didn't have any commitment there, no staff wage commitment, only if we had work that they were being paid for that we needed them to do. No huge office, which was a ridiculous amount of money we were paying for that. None of that financial commitment. It was just everybody was happy. And that was, for me, I always go back to that because that kicked everything else off. That was the point that everything started to change. And that was
Wow.
like, that did not seem possible. If somebody's telling me 1 week they would never want to work for themselves, and then the next week they're going, oh, I would go freelance, I'd like to work for myself, but you just told me you didn't want to. But I was not going to say that because I thought, no, I don't. It seems like he doesn't even remember that conversation, but I don't want to provoke anything. I just want to see how this unfolds. So I just kind of went with the flow, really. And that was that. So for me, that changed everything.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Yeah, wow. I mean, somebody could look at that and think like, oh, what a huge coincidence. And I remember
Yeah,
that's how I initially thought of my situation, because I had a kind of similar story. But I've actually kind of come to believe that there's no such thing as coincidences.
that's what I think. That's not,
Yeah,
no.
I think coincidences are kind of just signs that we're moving in the right direction. Um,
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good way of looking at them, actually, because actually, coincidence to me seems crazy. It just seems like that seems crazy. Whereas if I've thought something and I kicked off a train of events, that does not seem crazy. But to think that that just happened randomly, that
mhm.
no, what I thought that and decided that, and then randomly, all of my staff decided to go. Why? Why would they? They'd never spoken about it before. The first guy, you could just about rationalize that. Okay, his parents were moving away. And I did, because I just thought, okay, fair enough. I understand why he's doing that. But I didn't um, think of that manifestation at all. It wasn't until, the other guys did it as well. I thought, what? That's crazy. When I'm sat in that big office by myself a month later, I think, wow, that required other people to behave in such a way that I could get what I wanted, but I did not fixate on what other people would have to do,
Hmm.
what would have to happen. And I think that was the key. And I do think sometimes when it's huge like that, you don't have any resistance there, because part of you thinks it couldn't happen. So you don't have that resistance going, oh, have you tried hard enough? Oh, you need to do this, you need to do that, because you kind of don't think it's going to happen. You've got that, well, give it a go, I suppose. So you are in free flow without really knowing it, I guess.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. That reminded me so much of what happened to me. I had followed kind of the corporate path. I, got decent jobs outside once I got out of college, and I always kind of felt like I didn't really fit there, like doing the whole 9 to 5 thing,
Okay.
having a job. I always just had this feeling in the back of my mind of like, I don't think that this is like what I want my life to be. And even when I got my last job that I was very surprised to have gotten, I felt like I was underqualified for it. I was very surprised when
Yeah.
they called and offered it to me. And so, I thought like, oh, this is going to be like my dream job. Like this is going to be my long-term career. And even with that, I felt like every single day when I went to work, there would be some point where I'd be sitting at my desk and I'd be like looking out the window and just thinking, I just don't feel like I'm like having the impact that I want to have here. Like I feel like I'm meant to be somewhere else. So I had this
Uh,
thought in the back of my head for so long of like, this is not the path for me, but maybe I just haven't found my ideal position yet. Like I try to be grateful and all these things. And then it was spring of 2022, I believe, or maybe 2021, when the company brought everybody, like all 100 plus employees, onto a Zoom call and said the company was bankrupt and they were going under and
oh, wow.
everybody was being let go. And I just remember sitting there thinking that day, like I had all these emotions running through me, some negative and fear and all these things. But I also, that was the first time in my life where I had this like, I can only describe it as like a knowing. Like I just had this knowing in my gut of like, this is like, it feels like the universe is speaking to me right now and is like,
Really?
okay, you've been feeling this way for a very long time. We're pushing you out the door. Like this
Yeah,
is
you're
what
not
you
going to go
asked for.
any other way. So we have to
Yes.
collapse the whole company for you.
Yes, exactly. And in a way, I mean, it kind of felt like it happened in the most ideal way that it could because I didn't have to go quit. I didn't have to
No.
like do any of those things. It was like, hey, we're all done. Everybody gets the rest of the week. We're going to pay you. Here's your severance package. Good luck. And I just remember sitting there thinking like, did I create this? Like, is
Yeah.
this what I've been kind of secretly asking for? So that was the first time in my life when I felt like I feel like the universe it's all working for me. And I just need to know what I want and then be willing to let go of the wheel and allow it to happen.
Yeah. It's that not messing around in the middle because you don't know what you're doing. That's why I keep reminding myself, you don't know what you're doing, not your part of the production line. Your choice is, it's about choice, isn't it? And you were chosen. You didn't maybe know what you wanted to do, but you knew that wasn't it. Where you were, wasn't it?
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
100%. So is there anything in your life that you're actively manifesting right now?
Well, I would say I'm manifesting it as such, but I've just started writing a children's book, which again came out of nowhere. I was feeling a little bit stuck, not knowing where to go. I've written something, and I don't know what I'm doing with that yet. So that was on the back burner, and I thought I want another project. And then that just popped into my head, and the cover and everything popped in. So I would say it's between the ages of 8 to, I don't know, it's 12 maybe. And I thought, well, I don't even know if I could do that. My son's 25 now, so I've forgotten what it's like. Although I do have a niece and nephew. And I thought, oh, I don't know. And I kind of did a couple of paragraphs and thought, I don't know actually if I can do this. And then I just thought, where's my voice? And then later on, I was on Amazon, I don't know, ordering something. And for some reason, something popped into my head and I typed in young adult fiction. And I just read a sample of somebody who was sort of aimed at the same age group. I don't know why I did that. That was completely. And then I thought, oh God, yeah, I can do that. I can do that. Yeah, I could do that. And then that sort of kicked it off. So off I went with that. So I guess I'm looking at that now. I'm thinking, I don't know how I want to do it. I don't think I want to self-publish it. So yeah, so I might be manifesting a different path for that, but in a very light-hearted way. Because
Mhm.
I'm doing what I'm doing, and let's just see. I think for that, that came to me, and now I'm writing it, and it's as if whenever I write, I look back at it and I think, I have no recollection of writing that. How did I come out with that? Like, blimey, that's good. What happened there? Because I don't remember it, don't remember actually writing it. So it's a bit like that. So I'm thinking, I think this might be something. So apart from that, not really. I'm just sort of making choices as I go, really. Because I guess what you're talking about manifestation, I'm going to say, what do I want? This is what I want, right? And I tend to do this thing now where I just think, if I'm really want something and I'm concerned about another outcome, then I'm just feeling myself moving that to one side. No, I don't choose that. This is what I choose. So that just allows me to come back to the outcome I want and not dwell in any other scenario.
Mm.
Not in again, I don't find that, I find that quite powerful, because I'm going, no, that's not what I want. I get that that is a possible reality, but it isn't going to be this one. It isn't going to be mine. So a version of me might be experiencing that, but this version wants this, and I can
Yeah.
bring myself back. And that feels powerful. And I feel like I don't need to do anything else. Distract myself, then do that, and then go and think about something else. And that's it. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Nice. It feels like that's a kind of a big takeaway of what I've learned from you in this conversation. Know what you want, know what it is that you want to create, and be willing to detach from the process, detach from the
Yeah.
outcome, just knowing this is what I want to create. These other thoughts are going to come up telling me the reasons why I can't do it, or it might not work
Yeah.
out. And I don't enjoy those thoughts. So I'm going to focus on what I do enjoy and what does feel good. And then I'm going to allow myself to just sit in the passenger seat and let whatever happen, knowing that it's going to work out for me the way it's meant to.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, I find that now quite liberating, that I don't actually have to do anything. I can just leave it to something I don't understand, whatever that is.
Mm.
And, who knows? Who knows what it is? I mean, I've got a couple of friends that are very religious, they're Christian, and they would say it's God. And I'm never going to say it's not. It's to me that I love science. So I think that we're making a quantum choice. But again, I appreciate that everybody has a different view on this, and it works the same, whatever you think it is, doesn't it? You know, if somebody's praying to God, then I may just kind of talking to myself and making a choice, the same thing, really, same but different, as I say.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's interesting to me, though, because when I talked to a girl at work, we were talking, I didn't know she was Christian, and she was talking to me about it, and she was talking about a passage from the Bible which I can't recall now, but it was about letting go, it was about surrendering. And I said, that's like, I'm not religious, but actually, yeah, I totally believe that's the way to go. But I look at it in a slightly different way. I don't. I look at it in the same way,
Mm.
but to you, that's God, and you're letting go to God, and me, I'm letting go to something I don't understand. And
Yeah.
I find now that I don't feel the need to put a label on it. I used to think, well, what can I call it? I call it God. I tried calling it God, my version of God. I've tried lots of different things, and I've since realised it doesn't matter. Don't get hung up on what you call it. Otherwise, that's just another bunch of resistance, isn't it? Then, so
Mhm.
yeah,
The last question that I always like to ask people is, like I told you before, I make this content for people who relate to feeling like inspired idiots. So there's some
okay.
unrealistic goal they want to achieve, some unrealistic life that they want to create. They don't know what they're doing. They might feel delusional sometimes, but they're like, I'm going to go for it anyway. So if you could, just from your own experience, if you could pass on one piece of advice to people who feel like that, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
I think I would say, if it feels unrealistic, so what? So what? Big deal. It feels unrealistic, but it's not impossible. It's never impossible. Just kind of go with, don't try and fight against the feeling of it being unrealistic. I think, oh, how can I make it feel realistic? Just go, it feels realistic. So what? Doesn't mean it's not possible. I say so what quite a lot in my life these days, because I used to, again, overthink things. But now I'm like, yeah, do you know what? So what? So what? It's really quite useful, or whatever. I like whatever as well. Yeah, whatever, because
Yeah.
that's just your mind. And if you're saying whatever, then you're saying it to your rational mind, really, that's trying to protect. Yeah, whatever, whatever. Not engaging. Um, you know, what feels unrealistic to you now, when you're doing it, you'll think, can't believe that felt unrealistic. Why? It's just another path to choose, isn't it?
Mhm.
And even if it does feel unrealistic, still choose it. Don't let that stop you from choosing it and hoping for the best. There's nothing wrong with hoping for the best. Hope, there's nothing wrong with hope. People would, in this community, will say, "Oh no, hope means you don't have it." Oh, hope's a nice feeling. No, I hope for the best.
Yeah.
It's not like you're dwelling in the feeling of hope. You're just going, this is what I want, and here's hoping for the best. I've chosen it. Let's just see what happens. Yeah.
Nice. So what? I like that. I say that to myself very often as well.
Do
Well, thank
you?
you. Yes. Thank you so much for coming on with
Oh,
us,
you're
Evie. This was
welcome.
really fun. I'm going to go ahead and
You're
stop the
welcome.
recording now, but thank you.
Okay.
This was awesome.
You're welcome.
That is
Awesome.
a perfect start. And you're wearing green. I love it. We got a green
I
theme.
thought, oh yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I was feeling a green day today. What harm is you telling a different story? I'm just going to say to you, your picture is frozen there.
Oh, I'm frozen.
Yeah, you're
Oh,
frozen.
Okay.
Yeah.
It'll be okay. It'll come back. The final will be there.
Okay.
It'll be uploaded.
Cool. Okay. Do you yeah, okay. That's cool.
Yeah, we're good. Hopefully it doesn't look completely ridiculous.
No, it doesn't actually. No. It
Cool.
could be worse.
Awesome. So I want to go back